Nityam Tam Dashtrayadrima Iva Vajradharo Dadara Brahmavacha Yatra Dyathakshiti Talo Dharanaya Bibhrat Krodim Tanum Sakalagya Maim Anantaha Antar Maharnava Upagatam Adi Daityam Tam Dashtrayadrim Iva Vajradharo Dadara Brahmavacha Yatra Dyathakshiti Talo Dharanaya Bibhrat Krodim Tanum Sakala Yagya Maimanantaha Antar Maharnava Upagatam Adi Daityam Tam Damstrayajam Iva Vajradharo Dadara Yatra Dyathakshiti Talo Dharanaya Bibhrat. Dharanaya Bibhrat. Krodim Tanum Sakala Yagya Maimanantaha. Brahmavacha Yatra Dyathakshiti Talo Dharanaya Bibhrat. Anyone else? Brahmavacha Yatra Talo Dharanaya Bibhrat. Mataji's? Anyone? Okay. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Lord Brahma said, when the unlimitedly powerful Lord assumed the form of a boar as a pastime. Oh, word for word. Okay, sorry. Brahma Vacha. Lord Brahma said, Yatra, at that time, when Udyataha attempted, Kshititala, the planet Earth, Udharanaya, for the matter of lifting, Bibhrat, assumed as a pastime, Krodim Tanum, the form of a boar, Sakala, total, Yagya Maim, all-inclusive sacrifices, Anantaha, the unlimited, Antaha, within the universe, Maharnave, the great Garbha ocean, Upagatam, having arrived at, Ari, the first. Daityam, demon. Tam, him. Damstraya, by the tusk. Adrim, the flying mountains. Eva, like. Vajradharaha, the controller of the thunderbolts. Dadara, pierced. All right, translation purport by the Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Lord Brahma said, when the unlimitedly powerful Lord assumed the form of a boar as a pastime, just to lift the planet Earth, which was drowned in the great ocean of the universe, called the Garbho Daka, the first demon Hiranyaksha appeared, and the Lord pierced him with his tusk. Purport. Since the beginning of creation, the demons and the demigods, or the Vaishnavas, are always the two classes of living beings to dominate the planet of the universes. Lord Brahma is the first demigod, and Hiranyaksha is the first demon in this universe. Only under certain conditions do the planets float as weightless balls in the air, and as soon as these conditions are disturbed, the planets may fall down into the Garbhodaka ocean, which covers half the universe. The other half is the spherical dome within which the innumerable planetary systems exist. The floating of the planets in the weightless air is due to the inner constitution of the globes, and the modernized drilling of the earth to exploit oil from within is a sort of disturbance by the modern demons and can result in a greatly harmful reaction to the floating condition of the earth. A similar disturbance was created formerly by the demons headed by Hiranyaksha, the great exploiter of the gold rush, and the earth was detached from its weightless condition and fell down into the Garbhodaka ocean. The Lord, as maintainer of the whole creation of the material world, therefore assumed the gigantic form of a boar with a proportionate snout and picked up the earth from within the water of Garbhodaka. Sri Jayadev Goswami, the great Vaishnava poet, sang as follows: Pasani dashane shikare dharani tavalagna shashini kalanka kaleva nimagna Keshava dhrita sukara rupa jai jagari sare. O Keshava, O Supreme Lord, who have assumed the form of a boar, O Lord, the planet Earth rested on your tusk, and it appeared like the moon engraved with spots. Such is the symptom of an incarnation of the Lord. The incarnation of the Lord is not the concocted idea of fanciful men who created an incarnation out of imagination. The incarnation of the Lord appears under certain extraordinary circumstances, like the above mentioned occasion, and the incarnation performs a task which is not even imaginable by the tiny brain of mankind. The modern creators of the many cheap incarnations may take note of the factual incarnation of God as the gigantic boar with a suitable snout to carry the planet Earth. When the Lord appeared in order to pick up the earth, the demon of the name Hiranyaksha tried to create a disturbance in the methodical function of the Lord, and therefore he was killed by being pierced by the Lord's tusk. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, the demon Hiranyaksha was killed by the hand of the Lord. Therefore, his version is that after being killed by the hand of the Lord, the demon was pierced by the tusk. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur confirms his version. Om Jnanatimrandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Karahmayam Vadanti Swadvadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shiyatah Barakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamshcha Shri Rupam Sagujatan Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Pashakan Vitamshcha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavanishwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpatarubhyashta Kripa Sindhuri Vyevacha Patitanam Pavanevi Vaishnavi Namo Nama Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutare Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swamini Namane Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutare Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Namane Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavari Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakti Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. All right, so we've made it to the point in Canto 2 where Brahma begins to reveal his heart about the incarnations of the Lord. Leading up to this chapter, we've discussed the Purusha Sukta confirmed and the elaboration on how Krishna expands himself into Vishnu and how Vishnu expands himself into the Hiranyagarbha and essentially manifesting the innumerable universes. And so this is just a exhibition of his unlimited potency on how he's able to do such amazing unlimited things. And so all the while he's manifesting his universe, it gives way for him to enter into these universes and perform these pastimes in the form of his Leela avatars. So it says here, when the unlimitedly powerful Lord assumed the form of a boar of pastime, just to lift the planet Earth, which was drowned in the great ocean of the universe called the Dharmadaka Ocean, the first demon appeared, and the Lord pierced him with his tusk. So all the while he's manifesting these innumerable universes, and all the while he's all in Goloka Vrindavan, simultaneously he's able to enter into these innumerable universes which are unlimited and are emanating from his pores, and exhibit these wonderful pastimes, as his Leela avatars or his incarnations to perform these different Leelas. And so when he comes down as these wonderful incarnations, the demons are bewildered. They tend to accept him as an ordinary man. They accept him as an ordinary human being. Avajananti mamudha manushim tanum ashrutam parambhavam ajananto mama bhuta mareshwaram. That fools deride him in a human form, that when he comes down, being deluded by the three modes of material nature, they accept him as completely material. But actually, as Mahosa Prabhu was speaking, after explaining how the universes were formed, Brahma starts to reveal his heart, his true feelings, and exhibiting his attraction to the pastimes of Krishna. And so this is like Mahosa Prabhu was saying, is what's pleasing to the Parampara. That naturally, as a pure devotee of Krishna, he was attracted to glorifying Krishna and explaining the pastimes of Krishna. And it's just like nectar to the pure devotees that are listening, and to the devotees that are speaking these pastimes, as these pastimes are actually non-different from Krishna. His name, his form, his pastimes, his paraphernalia. All these things that are directly related with Krishna and all his incarnations, they're completely spiritual. But unfortunately, when he comes down, fools deride him in this form, accepts it to be material. But actually, he comes down to attract the conditioned souls back to him. Paturitanaya sadhunam vinashaya chadiskritam. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chadiskritam. That when he comes down to protect the devotees, attract the devotees back to his original abode in the spiritual world, and he simultaneously chastises the miscreants. He kills the demons as a byproduct of coming down. And in this way, he's giving the opportunity for the devotees of him, the devotees to relish his pastimes, the nectar of his pastimes, which are completely transcendental. And this is what Lord Brahma is currently doing. He's relishing these wonderful incarnations in this chapter. Unfortunately, like Mahosa Prabhu said, when he comes down, the devotees are attracted to his pastimes, and simultaneously the demons, the envious, become even more envious. While the swans are taking shelter of Krishna, taking shelter of nectar, the crows are taking shelter of that which is temporary. Mahosa Prabhu was really emphasizing Vyasa Tirtham, that the crow, Vyasa Tirtham, that Vyasa Tirtham is like the devotees, but Vyasa Tirtham are crows that take shelter of that which is temporary. So similarly, when Krishna comes down, the devotees take shelter of him, and the demons take shelter of their own material opulences. And so we can see when Varahadev, which is the form of Krishna, as a half-man, half-boar comes down, Hiranyaksha, an envious demon of Krishna, being very powerful and very puffed up by his own material opulence, decides to challenge Krishna, decides to challenge this incarnation of Krishna, Sri Varahadev. Since the beginning of creation, the demons and the demigods, or the Vaishnavas, are always the two classes of living beings to dominate the planets of the universes. And so we can see that Demons, the demi-demons and demigods have always been battling. This is the nature of the material world, is that in the material world there are problems. And naturally, even in the highest posts, like Brahma, that there's problems. There's in Indra, there's a constant struggle against the demigods. And so this has been going on since time immemorial, and practically throughout most of the Bhagavatam or many pastimes explained of the demigods and the demons having a constant struggle. And even to this day, there are many examples of so many demons who are completely envious of Krishna. And when Krishna comes down, they're completely aloof, completely averse to the mercy of Krishna. And practically, we saw that at the Braves game when we did the Harinam, or whatever that was, down the Braves game, that they said you could chant whatever you'd like. You can chant the Braves team, you can chant, you know, any other team. They're chanting whatever, you know, shloka or glorification that's for each team. You can say it, you know. But they even joked that said we could probably even chant illicit sex, you know, gambling, whatever. But one thing you cannot chant is Hare Krishna. Is Hare Krishna, and this is due to enviousness of the demons. Namam duskritana mudha prapajante naradhamaha maya parita jnana asuram bhavam ashritam. That the lowest of mankind, those who are completely of the atheistic nature or demoniac, avoid the surrender of Krishna. And we see that on a practical basis so much, you know. Even if you don't, even like if you don't even explain Krishna directly, you may even try to cover up try to not even say Krishna directly. But because, you know, the whole process is absolute, it's like the enviousness, they can understand that there's a call to surrender to Krishna. So we see that practically even with Christians, you may say like, yeah, you know, this is about God and glorifying God or whatever. It may sound just like their philosophy, but simply because, you know, Krishna, this is the embodiment of this movement is Krishna, they're completely averse to the whole movement. Lord Brahma is the first demigod and Hiranyaksha is the first demon in this universe. Only under certain conditions do the planets float as weightless balls in the air, and as soon as these conditions are disturbed, the planets may fall down into the Garbhodaka ocean, which covers half the universe. And so this is actually a particularly interesting line within the whole and purport, just because Prabhupada is giving information about how the planets are floating in the universe. When we're taught in school is that these universes are held up by the gravitational pull, and essentially we don't know what the gravity is. They say there's a gravity. We don't know what that really entails, what gravity is really made of, but there's some magical energy holding everything up. But Prabhupada goes on to say that the floating planets in the weightless air due to the inner constitution of the globes and the modernized drilling of the earth to exploit oil from within is a sort of disturbance by the modern demons. So Prabhupada's given understanding that actually it's the inner constitution of these globes that are able to keep these planets up and floating in the air. You know, in school we're taught, they tell us so many speculations about what's inside the globe. You know, they teach you like that the external, the first layer is, I don't know what they call it. It's like the crust, and then they have like right under there is like slightly harder rock, and then under there is like the hardest kind of rock or something, and then there's like some lava into there, and then there's like a core which is completely made of metal. Like to me, it just made absolutely no sense whatsoever. When I just try to understand how the heck do they know this? Like, how is there a core like a metal? You know, and how is there lava? But it's complete speculation actually. And they actually have no idea what they're speaking about. It goes on to say that that the modernized drilling of the earth to exploit oil from within is a sort of disturbance by the modern demons and can result in a greatly harmful reaction to the floating condition of earth. You know, the scientists are always trying to, you know, hype up different scenarios in which the earth may be destroyed. You know, there may be a fault line in California, and you know, if we keep acting the way we do, then you know, there'll be a great earthquake, or there's always an asteroid that's always somehow coming and it's on course to get us every couple years, but somehow it always miraculously misses us. But actually, the Prabhupada's saying that one of the greatest harms that we're doing is this extracting of oil within the planet Earth, which is disturbing the natural flotation of the planet. That this fracking that the Americans are very proud about. I remember my uncle. He's from Texas, and Texas is like the biggest like state ever, and they have so much oil, so much opulence, and they're like a country within a country. They're very like they don't identify with American. They identify as like a Texan. And he would always glorify the fracking. We have all this oil there. We could separate from our own country, and they're very proud of extracting this oil. But it's actually very unnatural. They essentially um, inject a high amount of pressure into these different fissures, which essentially force this oil to come up. But it's completely unnatural, and it's detrimental to the environment, the earth, and we suffer for that. We suffer for that. Ishavasamidam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagattena tyaktena bunzitama agritha kashasvedanu. That we all have our own like quotas set aside by Lord Krishna. And if we try to over endeavor, we try to get more than what's already set aside to us by Krishna, then we suffer. And so what's happening is this earth is filled with demons who think that they're the doer, that think that by their own means that they can obtain all the riches. And they're like mini Hiranyakshas, the demon that was killed by Brahadev, Prakriti Kriyamanani Guna Karmani Savasha, Ahankara Vimudhatma, Kartahamiti Manyate. That the bewildered soul, the soul becomes bewildered in this conditional state and thinks himself to be the doer of activities that are actually carried out by the three modes of material nature. So actually, these demons, they're thinking they're acting on their own, but they're being carried out, they're being dragged by the three modes of material nature. And so in this way, by trying to endeavor and try to exploit the earth for more than what's actually necessary to live, what's required to live, that they suffer. And you can see there's practically so many things or so many problems are going on in this world. So much pollution, so much famine, so much poverty, depression, anxiety. These things are increasing every day and more. And no matter what we do, no matter how we try to be the doers of society, try to our best to be our own gods, essentially it doesn't work out. We try to make material problems for material solutions. So many times, the average scientists are always taxing their brains on how to prevent these problems in society. And the one solution that they say are these electric cars. These electric cars are the greatest thing since sliced bread, and it's going to create a utopian society in which there's going to be no pollution, no nothing. But actually, just to create those electric cars takes so much pollution, so much fossil fuels are produced. Even the resource that's used to power electric cars itself is created by fossil fuel. What to speak of the buildings that are made to create these cars? They're created by fossil fuels. So these material problems and material solutions, trying to be the doer, trying to be God, is what causes the suffering of living entity. And so this is the inherent nature, this is what's inherent in the conditioning of the soul. And so this is what Hiranyaksha doing, one of the biggest demons. He's completely envious of Krishna. So he goes on to say, and the earth was detached, and the earth was detached from its weightless condition and fell down into Garbhodaka ocean. And so in this way, Krishna comes down when the conditioned souls are when irreligious principles are completely in danger. Then he comes down to establish the religious principles and attract the devotees. And so we can see at the time when the demigods needed him the most, essentially he came down. The Lord, as maintainer of the whole creation of the material world, therefore assumed the gigantic form of a boar with a proportionate snout and picked up the earth from within the waters Garbhodaka. So the Lord, it says here, the Lord is the maintainer of the whole creation. When he not only the Leela avatars, but there's also the Guna avatars of Krishna, which is Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu, of which Vishnu is the supreme, and he is the maintainer of the universe. He is the very source and reservoir of pure goodness. That by satisfying him, ultimately all the demigods are satisfied, and we're completely satisfied. But due to ignorance, due to being deluded by the three modes of material nature, people choose to worship demigods, and verse. Kamas taishtarhita jnana prapajantena devataha tam tam niyamam asthaya prakritaniyata swaya. That those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own nature. So there are many demigods which are employed by Krishna to carry out certain activities. And by the mercy of Vishnu, these demigods are able to get the resources to carry out these positions. But those whose intelligence has been stolen by their material desires, they rather surrender unto demigods than Vishnu. But it says here that Prabhupada is saying that Vishnu is the complete maintainer of everything. That he supplies the air and wind to the demigods that supply the air and wind. That Vayu, Indra, all these different demigods, without getting these resources from Vishnu, there's no way they would be able to carry out the positions. Lord Vishnu, Prabhupada Gita goes on saying, I'm in everyone's heart as a super soul. As soon as one desires to worship some demigod, I make his faith steady so that he can devote himself to that particular deity. So Krishna actually gives people the faith to worship demigods. He gives people the faith to worship things outside of Krishna. We see so many things. People believe so many far out things, and then they put faith in their own selves. And within the heart, Krishna's in the heart. Sarvasya cham hriti sannivisto. He's in the heart of he's guiding everyone in the heart of living entity in the form as super soul. Ishvara sarva bhutanam. He's in all the living entities. And mata smritir jnanam apohanam cha. Through him, he can give us remembrance, forgetfulness, and knowledge. And so, if we have a desire, if our material desires take over, then he gives us that faith to worship demigods. And in this way, they can be completely bewildered and believe such outlandish things. Yeah, I remember Vishnu Chaitanya Prabhu, he found this guy who said he was interested in getting books. And so we drove he was right in this neighborhood. He walked by, and so we drove and went to the Bhagavatam. We bought the Bhagavatam, and so we drove there. And so we pulled up, and I'm thinking, man, I hope these guys are not big oxes, but then we pull in, and then I was like, oh my God, these guys look super broken, ghetto, bro. I don't know if they're gonna want any of these books, man. It looks really poor. And so I'm like, maybe Vishnu, Chaitanya Prabhu is he's got faith, maybe he really blessed us with some homies. So we go in there, and so immediately as soon as we go in, they come out the car. It's like, hey, you're the monks. I'm like, yeah. It's like, y'all need some knowledge, man. He's like, yeah. Like, what you got for me, man? And so we whip out the van or whatever, and so I pull out the knowledge. And then immediately after I pulled it out, he was like he was ready to challenge from he didn't want the knowledge. He just immediately wanted to challenge. As soon as I pulled out this, I pulled out the 5th canto, and then there's the pictures of people who are on the hellish planets and suffering. And then in one of the pictures was a darker skinned person. He's like, hold on, man, why's that dude black, man? He's like, why is he black? I was like, bro, he's not the body. He's like, I know, but why is he black, man? Why can't he be white, man? I'm like, look, man, bro, we're spiritual, right? We're not the body. He's like, I understand that, but why is he black? And so I'm like, anywho, man. And so he goes on. He's like, no, we actually all gods, man. We're all gods. And he was like, man, you know how many eyes you got, man? And I was like, something tells me the dude's about to say we have more than 2 eyes, man. And I was like, who was with me? Someone was with me. Oh, it was Jacobo. Jacobo, he's not here. He was with me, and so I was like, look, man, we got 2 eyes. He's like, nah, man. He's like, we got 13 eyes, man. We got 2 right here. We got the 3rd eye. We got the one in the chest. We got the ribs. I was like, look, man, I don't know nothing about that, but these books say the most important senses are the ears, man. He's like, nah, man, the eyes are most important. I was like, bro, how are the eyes most important? I was like, if you cover your ears right now. He's like, through your eyes you get all the knowledge. I was like, through your ears you get all the knowledge. Tell you what, his friend was standing right there. I was like, if you cover your ears right now, if I start talking, are you gonna know what I'm saying? And he was like, no, see there, man, that's what you're doing right now. See what you're doing? And then his friend just started dying laughing. And after that, he was just fried out. But you see, these people, they're deluded by the 3 modes of material nature, and they completely believe you have 13 eyes on your body. They've never seen any of the eyes. They see something on Instagram that says they have 13 eyes, and they completely believe it. Krishna gives them that belief to believe these completely crazy ideas. And, this is due to their material desires, to want to fall victim to these material desires. So in the purport, it goes on to say, Sri Jayadev Goswami, the great Vaishnava poet, saying as follows: Vasati dashane sikhare dharani tavalagna shashani kalanka kaleva nimagna Keshava dhrita shukara rupa jai jagari hare. O Keshava, O Supreme Lord, who has assumed the form of a boar, O Lord, the planet Earth rested on your tusk and it appeared like the moon engraved with spots. Such is the symptom of incarnation of the Lord. The incarnation is not concocted idea of fanciful men who create an incarnation out of imagination. The incarnation of the Lord appears under certain extraordinary circumstances, like the above mentioned occasion. That Lord Krishna, when he comes down, he exhibits potencies that the ordinary man cannot exhibit. That no matter how much someone may claim to be incarnation of Krishna, or claim to be God, they can't imitate what Krishna exhibits within these pastimes. So many people would concoct so many ideas of who God is, this person's an incarnation, and that person's an incarnation. They may say so many things, but practically we can understand through Shastra who is actually the incarnation of Krishna. People may say so many things, but if you ask them to do anything that Krishna did, they can't do it. And actually, so many of them actually go out as to completely reject the Vedas altogether. So there's this one guru who claims to be an incarnation. I remember before I came to Krishna consciousness, and he was saying I never read any of the Vedas. I didn't read Bhagavad Gita. Yeah, Sadhguru. Anywho, like, can I say like the names of like these, like, I don't, better not to. Okay, so I won't say, but he'll say that I've never read Bhagavad Gita, I've never read the Vedas, and and he made like some joke, I've never even read like something on the back of a cereal box or something, something like, and then all the comments were laughing, but he completely rejects the Vedas. He's from India. I don't know what part of India. He's from India at some place, but he rejects the Shastra, the Vedas that are coming from there. And when you meet on books, these people who follow Sadhguru and accept him as like some bona fide, I was gonna say sorry, but some bona fide guru. And they say many things like, yeah, like, I tried to give this Bhagavad Gita or whatever. He was there for some event that he was in Atlanta for. He had some like big convention, his last like appearance in public. It was like a huge thing. And, he was like, yeah, I respect that, but honestly, I don't follow that. That's like made by man, And I was like, what are you talking about? This is like spoken by Krishna. And he was like, yeah, but ultimately, this guru, he says that, everything comes within, and it comes from within the soul, and we ultimately don't need a guru. But these people don't know by saying that they're accepting a guru. They're accepting someone's teachings. They're taking guidance from someone. The only difference is there's a guru, a bona fide guru, who's getting their knowledge from Shastra, but then there's another side of a guru who's whimsically creating their own speculations. And so they're accepting a guru who doesn't have the basis in Shastra. And so in this way, there's no information, there's no knowledge of anything. They made so many things. I said, oh, you're getting so much knowledge from within the heart, this and that. I was like, can you tell me one verse within the Bhagavad Gita? Krishna knows all. Krishna gave the whole Bhagavad Gita. If you're getting knowledge from within the heart, you should at least know one verse within the Bhagavad Gita. At least tell me one verse. He couldn't tell me one, and he didn't know what to say. He was like, oh, well, listen to me. I have an explanation. I was like, no, you're just like a bogus rascal who absolutely has no understanding of spiritual life. And I just walked away because these guys, they'll waste your time. So these incarnations, they may come up with so many ideas of spiritual life. I was talking to this one dude who I gave a Bhagavatam when we were in Miami, and for a while I was talking to him every Sunday. Every Sunday I was speaking with him about Krishna consciousness, about the philosophy, and he seemed really sincere, and I really enjoyed I liked speaking to him. And unfortunately, he was super attached to this one guru who gave him this mantra. And they tell you they give you this mantra, and you pay a certain amount of money, and this mantra is like, they tell you don't give it to anyone because it'll lose its power, it'll lose its like shakti, and then you won't use it. And he was saying, I love the Maha Mantra, but there's something about this mantra, it just gives me peace, and it gives me like some peace of mind. But I was telling him, I was like, if it's completely spiritual, then it shouldn't lose power. Well, why should it lose power? Spiritual is eternal. It's completely unlimited. But he's telling you that by giving these if you give this mantra, you can't tell anyone, then you lose power. What kind of spiritual life? Spiritual is ananda buddhi vardhanam. It's ever increasing, full of bliss, full of knowledge. If it's truly spiritual, then it should be giving you unlimited bliss. It should be ever increasing. You should be getting unlimited knowledge. And actually, the nature of the spirituality is the more you give this mantra, the more bliss everyone receives. More people are happy. More people gain knowledge. It's increasing love. It's all increasing. It's not that you give this Maha Mantra of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and then you can't give it to people. No, give it more. The more people that partake in the Sankirtan Yajna, the more that people are in this Krishna conscious movement, the more blissful everyone is. And we see that practically. The more people are joining, the more boxes are joining, the more people are coming, the more ecstatic that the kirtans are, the more fired up the book distribution is. It's completely ecstatic. It's ever increasing. We can feel it practically. If someone's telling you that you shouldn't give this, it'll reduce the bliss. It'll reduce the knowledge if you give it out. Who wants to be by themselves in the first place? Whenever you have something amazing, like you ever had, like when you were, you had some ice cream or something really amazing, like you think of like your best friend, like bro, you have to try this, man. This is like amazing. That's the nature. He wants to share something great with other living entities, But these bogus incarnations, they'll tell you that so many different things, not to give us knowledge. And so this is completely bogus, it's rejected. And so there's so many different examples of so many gurus who aren't bona fide. And so going back to the original, line of these people that are doing so much technology to exploit the earth, real technology, Mahotsa Prabhu tells us, is Guru Parampara. That he was saying that he understood as Brahma, the Brahma who spoke the Purusha Sukta, who's speaking the incarnations, he knew what was pleasing to Parampara, that speaking the pastimes of these incarnations of Krishna, this is what's actually pleasing to the Parampara. And by what is tat paripatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshati te jnanas jnaninas tattva darshana. That by finding a bona fide spiritual master who has his basis in Shastra, who understands Krishna to be the essence, of all spiritual literature, Vedaischa sarvam aham eva vedya, that Krishna is the essence of all the literature, of all the Vedas, he is to be known. That a bona fide guru who knows the conclusion of the Vedas, that by rendering service unto them submissively, by performing service unto them, by inquiring from them submissively, that then the bona fide spiritual master, he imparts this transcendental knowledge, this divya gyan, to the disciple. But it's not that you some guru gives you some mantra and tells you, you're this special person and that you're God, and then and then that person they take that and then they essentially, what is it called? We kill the guru, be the guru. Most of the what is that? What you say is Guru Mata Vidya. That these gurus that they get this so-called knowledge from these other gurus, and then they I'm God, there's no need for you, and I've got all the knowledge, But actually that real Divya Gyan is that Jivera Sobrahoy Krishna Nritya Das. That, we're eternal spiritual servants of Krishna. That where we're part and parcel of Krishna. I don't know that verse. Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatanam. That we're part and parcel of Krishna. We're eternal parcels of Krishna. And so in this way, we're eternal servitors of Krishna. And this is what's given by a bona fide spiritual master, not bogus incarnations of Krishna. So incarnations, they may mean so many things that I've come down as, and I was this incarnation, this and that, but they're not referred to in Shastra. There's nothing, no indication of them being anywhere, nothing, no incarnation of Krishna. And we can even refer to Shastra. We can refer to Srimad Bhagavatam on how to understand incarnation of Krishna. On Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 30, Text 25, if someone wants to bring that up. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 30, Text 25. Canto 10, Canto 10, Chapter 30. Text, what did I say? 25. Okay, 25. So it says here the gopis go on to explain actually the what symbols are on the feet of the lotus feet of Lord Krishna and how we can understand the incarnation God in a bona fide way. That when Krishna actually comes down, he has auspicious marks on his body that indicates that he is Krishna. The gopi said the marks of a flag, lotus, thunderbolt, elephant goad, barley corn, and so forth are on these footprints. Clearly, on these footprints, clearly distinguish them as belonging to that great soul, the son of Nanda Maharaj. So then, it's given, it elaborates a little bit more. At the base of the large toe on his right foot, the unborn Lord carries the mark of a disc, which cuts down the 6 mental enemies of his devotees. At the bottom of the middle toe of the same foot, Lord Achyuta has a lotus flower, which increases the greed from in the minds of the bee-like devotees who meditate on his feet. At the base of his small toe is a thunderbolt, which smashes the mountains of his devotees' reactions to past sins, and in the middle of his heel is the mark of an elephant goad, which brings the elephants of his devotees' minds under control. The joint of his right large toe bears the mark of a barley corn, representing all kinds of enjoyable opulences. A thunderbolt is found on the right side of his foot and an elephant goad below that. The acharyas of the Vaishnava Sampradaya explain that since the particular feet under discussion are Lord Krishna's, we should know that the thunderbolt is at the base of his small toe and the elephant goat on the throat of thunderbolt. An elephant goat on the heel belongs rather to Lord Narayana and Vishnu Tattva expansions. So anyway, it goes on to explain all these different symbols on Krishna's lotus feet and what they exactly mean. And this is indicative of an incarnation of Krishna. What's on the lotus feet of your guru? I don't know, like a mole. There's a mole on his lotus feet, if you want to call it that. Krishna's separated energies are bhumir apo nalo vayu kam mano bhuri revacha ahankara tiyam me bhina prakati rastadha. Earth, water, fire, air, ether. Mind, false and ego, intelligence. These are all Krishna's separated energies. Then that false incarnation, his separate energies are simply blood, pus, stool, and mucus, urine. That's their separate energy. So yeah, they may say so many things. I'm Krishna, you're Krishna. Krishna even says this will happen. Avyaktam vyaktam okay, yeah. Manyate ma buddhiya parambhavam janato mama vimamanutamam. That unintelligent men think I was impersonal. And so, yeah, these most incarnations, they deride him in the human form. They think, ultimately this incarnation of Krishna, he's coming from, the impersonal Brahman, the oneness, the light, and that he comes down as form, but actually I am him and you're him as well. But this is completely false, And Krishna is the source of all material and spiritual worlds. Aham sarvyasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. He's the source of all material spiritual worlds. That he says, Tribir guna mayar bhavair abhi sarvamidam jagat mohitam na bidhanati mam abhyaf paramavyam. That deluded by the 3 modes of material nature, the whole world does not know him. Completely deluded. They don't understand him to be a person. They think him to be, some material or some abstract form, or some, something coming from the Brahman. But we understand he's the complete source of everything. That he is, a person. He's a person. And there's so many examples of that. Like I said, Jivera Swarupa Hoy Krishna Neta, that we eternal servants of Krishna. You can't serve something that doesn't have a personality. So many Mayavadis, they try to say as they're doing bhakti, but there's no bhakti, there's no service of that can't accept, of someone who can't accept service. So many people are serving so many things, serving their boss, serving their wife, serving their kids, serving their friend, serving their dog. Everyone's serving something. We're going to serve something regardless. But actually, our service is meant for Krishna in its pure state of form. Service is meant for Krishna. The incarnation of the Lord appears under certain extraordinary circumstances like the above mentioned occasion, and the incarnation performs a task which is not even imaginable by the tiny brain of mankind. Many people try to speculate upon the form of the Lord, and they try to, by their own senses, their own limited understanding of their tiny brain, they try to figure out who exactly God is and how to understand God. But Practically, we understand that our senses are completely limited, that we can't see under certain material conditions, that if it's completely dark, we can't see anything. That if there's some rope there, we'll think it to be a snake, and we'll think a snake there to be a rope. That we can only see so far ahead. We can only smell so far. There are dogs who smells better than us. There are elephants that hear better than us, or hawks that see better than us. There are plenty of animals that have better senses than us. All our senses are extraordinarily limited. But because because of the conditioned soul being diluted by material, because of the contamination of jnana, anya bilashita shunyam jnanam, karma jnana karma janavritam, anukuliyana krishna anushilam bhaktirutamam. Uchate? Uttamam. Um, that in order to worship Krishna, you have to have zero material desires. But you see, due to the influence of that jnana karma janavritam, this influence of this contamination of dry speculative knowledge, of the desire to perform fruitive activities, mayavad, there's a desire to speculate upon God, and many people, they say, God's not real. Where's God? I haven't seen him. What's your qualification to see God? Even if you wanted to see God, could you see him? He's completely unlimited. What's your definition of God? God's unlimited. Can we agree on that? So if he's unlimited, how can you see with your limited knowledge? How is it possible? What's your qualification to see God? There's so many things that we can't see. We can't see things in the other room. We can't see what's going on in another country. But we expect to see an omniscient, omnipresent, all cognizant being, in who's residing in a completely different world. So so by their own contamination of these different contaminations, they by their own endeavor try to understand Krishna, and in turn they become bewildered. And giving an example of someone who tried to understand Krishna, although completely pure devotee and it's all lila. Lord Brahma, we can see in 10th canto, through trying to understand Krishna, try to essentially prove if he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He took all the cowherd boys and essentially kidnapped them and put them in a cave somewhere to sleep, essentially. And thinking maybe, I got him, let's see if he's the Supreme. And Krishna absolutely bewildered him. Because he's completely unlimited, he's able to exhibit amazing things. And this is one of his many pastimes where he proves that he's the incarnation of God by expanding himself into the many Vishnu Tattva expansions, and these expansions taking the position of these cowherd boys. And so then Brahma comes, and he's completely bewildered, and because no one else can do these sort of things. And so this is what Krishna does. And it says the incarnation appears under extraordinary circumstances. So he comes down to do completely amazing things that we cannot possibly imitate. He comes down in this form of Rahadev out of the nostril of Brahma. He comes out of the nostril of Brahma, and then expands himself into this humongous form to fight this ginormous demon who even the demigods were afraid of. He carried planet Earth on his tusks. We can't carry anything on any. We can try to carry even if I try to carry this mic stand with my pinky, it would be absolutely impossible. But Krishna has taken the form of a half man, half boar. Some people maybe would approve that they can carry a mic stand with their pinky. But can you carry this building with your pinky? What to speak of carrying a whole planet on your tusks? So, he exhibits this unlimited potency, which is you cannot imitate. And he completely destroys these demons who are envious of him. These demons who are untouchable by the demigods, who they're afraid of. Without batting an eye, he completely destroys these demons. And so this is what Krishna comes to do. He comes to perform this adbhuta rasa, these wonderful, pastimes, and to attract these devotees, to give us that the nectar by which the devotees can come together and relish and hear about, to give us more, give us more opportunity to glorify Krishna and these wonderful pastimes. And there's so many And there's so many incarnations where he exhibits so many things, and Brahma will go through all these incarnations, such as, you know, so many. I mean, even just Krishna coming down as he is, Krishna, to perform his, his Vrindavan Leela. He lifts his entire hill with his pinky for 7 days, while Indra, and I remember reading this, it was so far out, like Indra, he sends these clouds which are called some Vartika clouds, with these clouds that are sent during the partial devastation of the universe. This is what like assists the destruction of universe. He comes to berate just a village of Krishna's devotees, and he uses his potency to completely counteract it. Even when running to the hill, his potency was in such a way that he halted all the rain, all the storms, just to run to the hill and then lift the hill with his pinky. And then all his devotees came in, and he held it for 7 days. No one can imitate that, no matter how much you try to consider yourself an incarnation of Krishna or whatever. You can't do these sort of things. You have no auspicious symbols. You have no wonderful qualities. You may be able to exhibit, some wonderful so-called mystic power of manifesting a watch or some dust. And some of these bogus incarnations, they'll do that. Some of them have mystic incarnation, mystic, powers or whatever. But actually, we read not too long ago. Bhakta Trace was reading in the purport that it's like a liken to like an Aboriginal man seeing a thunderbolt or a large tree or a big mountain or something. Aboriginal men, they'll see like a great thunderbolt, and they accept that, they'll accept it as God because it's so amazing. They don't because of their limited intelligence, they to see something as great as an electric bolt is because they don't have the knowledge of what that is. They become bewildered, and they accept it as God. It's like, it's very amazing. So similarly, people with lesser intelligence, they see these bogus people. They exhibit so many of these different very limited mystic cities, and they accept them as God. But you may be able to create a gold watch. But what about all the gold mines within the world? All the gold mines. How much gold? So much gold. That comes from Krishna, and Ranaksha was so attracted to that gold that he had like I said, he had a great he was a great exploiter of the gold rush. So much gold that even and this is just Krishna's separate energy. The demons are bewildered by that; they're attracted by it. And just his separate energy is so attractive. But these bogus incarnations, they give some very minute exhibition of some material some material object, and they become very bewildered. What about the trees? What about the seed? From the seed, there's these in Uttarakhand, there's these popcorn trees, and they're like a nuisance because they don't give anything. There's no like actual use of them, but they grow and then they produce so many seeds that fall down, and so those seeds naturally just get fertilized or whatever within the ground naturally, and then more popcorn trees come out, and they're just absolutely a pain to get rid of, and they're useless as anything. But from one tree, from one tiny seed, an entire forest can come about. That's amazing. Who can imitate that? You may be able to create some watch. Can you create an entire forest from, you may be able to plant the seeds, but can you create a seed? Can you yourself create a seed? The material scientists, they're trying so hard. We've seen these videos where they're making these incubators, and they're trying to make these like laboratory babies, and they put these babies in these like little incubators, and they just grow up in these little things, and they're trying to like manipulate these babies so they can have the perfect traits or something. But without the seed and without the semen, you can't create a life. The soul is powering the body. So many people, the atheists, they don't have understanding of the soul, but there's so much evidence of the soul. Dehenosmin yatha dehe kaumanam yavaram jara tatha dehantaram praptiya dhiras tatra namuyati. That from boyhood to youth to old age, the body is changing. So similarly, at the time of death, the soul passes into another body, and a sober person is not bewildered. So we can see in our own life, when we're little babies, the body that we had as a baby is 100% different 100% different than the body we have now. And even the material scientists, they scientifically they accept that. Like they'll say that the cells and the, the a lot of the makeup within our body, they're always dying and reproducing, and the muscular, makeup, they're growing, and everything from head to toe is completely different. So if you're the body, and the body is completely changed, how we remain the same? The observer has remained the same. Can you explain that? You know, if you think you're the body, if you chop off a piece of your arm, does your identity change? So there's so much evidence that Prabhupada mercifully is giving us, to defeat these atheists and these Mayavadis on these sort of subjects. So yeah, it's a we can't imitate. Krishna has so many wonderful energies, and he does so many wonderful things, and he performs these pastimes, just so we can mainly to attract the devotees, but byproduct is naturally he doesn't have to try to prove that he's the supreme Lord. It's not that he comes down just to prove, but simply by just being himself, simply just by performing his pastimes, by being himself, he shows that he's God. He doesn't have to try go endeavor outside of just by his natural activities are so wonderful. There was one lecture by Guru Maharaj. I forgot the name, but he was saying actually, it's not so wonderful. Well, how did he word it? That is, to a degree, it's not even so wonderful because expected. Yeah, his pastimes are so wonderful that it's not even so it's not a shocker. Okay, he's like the supreme Lord, So it's not so surprising that he's able to. I mean, he's expands himself. He's in the super soul within every atom. Within every atom. He's simultaneously, like was it Mukunda Datta Prabhu saying, or Brigupati Prabhu? He was simultaneously, or Jayateta Maharaj, that he's the biggest, he's the greatest, and simultaneously the smallest. And while maintaining both of that, he's also normal sized. And he doesn't. It just does by. He's naturally doing these things. So it's to say that we're God or Krishna is actually completely, it's insanity. It's in Prabhupada, previous acharyas, this is what's given. It's insanity to accept these things because it's so obviously given in Shastra. But some people they just completely reject Shastra for whatever reason, but try to speak on Krishna and so many different things, but never even read anything about Krishna. So yeah, these pastimes are very wonderful. Krishna's incarnations are very wonderful, and it's not by our own means that we understand Krishna or these pastimes, but it's through service. That these people they from the outside looking in, they see us performing so many activities, selling books or dancing or singing, and so many people out there might sing and dance in the club or whatever. And they may do so many things, but they don't understand we're practicing devotional service. We're practicing surrender to Krishna, and by through this, we're able to understand Krishna. We're able to understand his unlimited pastimes. Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tattvaha taktva deham punar janma naiti mam eti sorjuna. That in order to gain true, liberation, in order to go back to the spiritual, back to Krishna, you have to render service unto him. You have to perform devotional service. This is the only way you can understand, by performing service to him, to his devotees, to his representatives. Then Krishna gives us, ye yatamam prapajante sataiva bhajamyaham. That Krishna, according to our surrender, Krishna gives us the understanding by which we can come to him. So through this and only those who are intelligent ultimately, when Krishna comes down, those who are intelligent will take up to this devotional service. And like I said, he comes. Those who are devotees come and they're attracted, the envious or become more envious. But those who are intelligent, aham sarvasya parvavo matta sarvam parvartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava. Those intelligent men, they surrender unto Krishna with love and devotion because they understand him to be everything, the source of everything. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapajate vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. That he is, after many births and deaths, the soul, after, many births and deaths, he finally understands Krishna to be all that is, to be the source of everything. Samahatma sudurlabha. Such a soul a great soul is very rare. So many people, they make this endeavor for liberation and spirituality, and so many people are out of, manushanam sahasreshu kashtit yatati siddhaye yatatam api siddhanam kashin mamveti tattvatah. You know, out of many thousands of people, only a few actually strive for true perfection of taking up the process of Krishna consciousness. So those there's so much material intelligence in these scientists, they're very puffed up by it. But one who's truly intelligent will simply surrender unto Krishna. And this comes through the mercy of the spiritual master. Brahmanda Bhumiti Kona Bhagavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade by Bhakti Lata Bish. That many births and deaths, we've been going up and down this Brahmanda. We've been going through this material world as, through the 8,400,000 species of life. We've been trees, we've been dogs, hogs, we've been, whatever, birds, fish, demigods, demons. We've been everything. We've been Brahma. We've been a Brahma before. So we've been through so many of these different forms of life. And so after so many births, we finally get this opportunity to come in contact with a pure representative of Krishna, a pure devotee of the Lord, who understands who understands the conclusion of the Vedas, who understands who's been given Divya again, who's been imparted that truth from their spiritual master, and they can give it to us if we render service unto them submissively. So it's a very rare opportunity, Unfortunately, I'm inclined towards sense gratification and all these horrible things that that the conditioned soul are inclined towards, And I have absolutely no qualification to even be in the association of devotees. But it's the causeless mercy of the spiritual master that somehow, even though we have zero qualities whatsoever, I have zero qualities, we're able to be given that the greatest benediction of association devotees. There's nothing greater than the association of those who are surrendered unto Krishna. And so, after having been through so many births and deaths of trying to be the doer and so many things, I finally have this opportunity to surrender to Krishna, surrender to his devotees. And so it's something that's very important and very rare. And so this is how we can understand Krishna, by rendering some unalloyed service. This is the goal of life, to attain pure devotional service unto Krishna. But in order to do that, there must be a purification of these material designations. Sarvabhati vinirmuktam tat paratvaina nirmalam rishikena rishikesha sevanam bhaktiruttamam. That in order to develop first-class devotion, there has to be a purification. We have to lose this ahamameti bhav. This I'm a black man, I'm a white man, I'm a American, I'm a Muslim, I'm an Indian, I'm whatever. And simply by engaging in our service, like Bhakti Trace was saying, engaging our senses in the service of the Lord of the senses, Rishikesh, then we can become purified and come to that platform where we can, begin to develop first-class devotional service, and become completely purified of these qualities of pride, envy, lust, so many different things that are exhibited by demons such as Hiranyaksha. And there's so many other demons, Hiranyakashipu. I mean, that's so many demons in Bhagavatam, of them trying so hard to become the demon. And they became such demons that Krishna came down personally just to kill them, But ultimately, you can transcend you can be greater than everyone in the material world. You can be the greatest person, but ultimately you'll never be greater than Krishna. Krishna is the source of everything. He's, Sarvakaranakaranam. He's the absolute source of everything. So I'll just go ahead and finish this paragraph. When the Lord appeared in order to pick up the earth, the demon of the name Hiranyaksha tried to create a disturbance in the methodical function of the Lord. And therefore, he was killed by being pierced by the Lord's tusk. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, the demon Hiranyaksha was killed by the hand of the Lord. Therefore, his version is that after being killed by the hand of the Lord, the demon was pierced by the tusk. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur confirms his version. So ultimately, he had to submit to Krishna. Krishna came down and killed him. Because Krishna is the supreme. So I'll end there. There's comments, complaints, and questions. Matajis? Avadhut Chandra Prabhu.
This is just something small, but you gave many nice examples in your class. But one thing that I heard which stuck out was you're talking about you have a friend and you want to share with them, so you have some ice cream and you're like, hey, you can try this, and it's
Yeah.
really about that rasa of like exchanging and relationships. And I was just hearing yesterday it was like, I don't know if this is maybe practically it's just a story, but there's some wealthy man, and he was given lots of money, and he was allowed to live in like um, some large mansion or something like that, and like fulfilling all these different fantasies and whatnot. But if a person is given like this large sum of money, and you know they don't have anybody to share it with, they're ultimately miserable. So this man,
Yeah.
he was like living in this like palace and whatnot, but he was just by himself. Every material facility you could ever want, but if you don't have no one to share it with, you're ultimately going to be miserable. So in the story, he's living, and suddenly like some sort of green bird comes, and he's like able to have some sort of like you know in touch with another living entity. You can't just be
Yeah.
happy by yourself, kind of thing. But it's just a comment.
Yeah. It's the causeless mercy of Lord Chaitanya that he inaugurated the Sankirtan movement. That these devotees, they've tasted the nectar of the highest perfection. These rasas of serving Krishna, and because of that ecstasy that they're experiencing, they want to simply give it to everyone. The Sankirtan movement's so amazing. So, the distributing books is like the highest perfection. We receive so much bliss, and actually, we want to give it. And so this is why we go out and do books. And I had my friend who was like, I brought over. I was excited because like, man, me and him were like best friends back out there, and like, we used to kick it, be together all the time. And I was like, man, I really want him to like, if he like takes something, man, that'd be like, amazing. Like, yo, we'd be like the two homies. But then he comes and he's like, anyway, he was like a big Christian, but he was not envious. So yeah, it's just so amazing. The Sankirtan music movement's like the greatest facility to, share that wonderful experience that we're feeling.
Prabhu, in regards to the point you were making about, how, you can't see so many things. You can't see what's in the other room. You can't see this, you can't see that. And how can you expect to see a person who's omniscient and omnipresent and omnipotent? But
Mm.
isn't it that we can see him if we have the qualification to see him?
Yes.
Could you elaborate on that, just to
Yes.
clarify that point?
So this is a process of Krishna consciousness that that if one takes up to this process of bhakti yoga seriously, eventually one can ultimately the highest perfection is to come face to face with Krishna, to be able to actually perceive. Even now we can perceive God, in the deity form. We can see Krishna through His mercy, um, but it's completely dependent on the mercy of Krishna that we're able to perceive Him in any of His forms, or even through His sound vibration. So those who so like there's this verse actually. Naham prakasha sarvasya yoga maya samavritaha mudho yamna bhijanati lokamam ajamavyayam. I'm never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them I am covered by my eternal potency, and therefore they do not know that I am unborn and infallible. So yes, those who are qualified, they're able to see Krishna, but that comes from sincerity, non-enviousness. Those who, and this is why in the material world, originally it was our desire not to see God. So He facilitated He loved us so much, he created this material world so that we could be our own gods and forget him. So if one has desire to not see God, not want to, perceive God or believe in him, then he facilitates such a way that he believes that you can't see, he won't see God. You won't see God. He hides himself. Krishna says he hides himself to the foolish and intelligent by his internal potency. So similarly, he can, by those who are intelligent and who are not foolish, who to in a sincerely in a non-violent way take up the Krishna consciousness and serve the bona fide devotees and practice the process that was given by the previous acharyas, such as Srila Prabhupada, then there can be first class devotion develops. We begin to lose our material designation. We begin to become purified and advance to the purest platform by which we can actually perceive Krishna face to face. Prabhuji.
There is a famous quote by Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, which Srila Prabhupada many times said, that don't try to see God. Try to serve Him so that God may see you. So in the Kali Yuga, like Prabhupada many times in his conversations, normal people, reporters, can you see God? Lo, Prabhupada immediately used to say that you don't know the definition of God, nothing, but try to hear about God. We don't have qualification to see Him, but we can hear about Him, which is non-different from God. So if we hear about Him, and if we may not perceive anything, the child doesn't know anything, but if he repeats the holy name of the Lord, then Cheto Darpanamarjan, over a period of time, even if he sees God, what he can understand? Duryodhana has seen God, so many people have seen God. But Pandavas, or few people, they have served God, they could see every moment of their life. So more important is to serve God than to see God or anything, which is not different from seeing God.
Yeah, that's a perfect example. That's the true desire. I mean, real service is one acts in such a way that they see God. I mean that's what we do. We come and we take darshan of God. It's not that we're coming to see the deities. That's there in one sense, but actually we're there so that the deities can see us. We're being enjoyed by Krishna. We're the ones being enjoyed by Krishna. We're not enjoying Krishna. We're not seeing Krishna. We're not, Krishna's enjoying us. And so this way we act so we can see God. It's not that, Krishna's pleased by us glorifying Him, so we speak Bhagavatam. So everything we do is to be seen by Krishna. Actually, it's not that we want to see Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Prabhu Bhagavatam ki jai.